Appreciate everybody coming out to follow Penn State football and support us. Really appreciate that. We'll start with, obviously, you got to give Illinois credit. Indiana credit. I apologize. Got to give Indiana credit. Every time it seemed like we, had the game in control and were able to, put them away, they would battle back in. Got a lot of respect for Coach Allen, what he's done here. Got a lot of respect for the program. They've seemed to battle everybody like that. But that's the biggest thing. I don't know if I've played in a game that windy in my career, and I think it showed up. With special teams, it showed up, in the passing game, it showed up a lot of different things. We were able to win the field position battle, which was important, especially in a day like today. We were able to win the turnover battle. We were able to win the penalty battle, which was a big improvement for us over the last couple of weeks, but we lost the explosive play battle. So overall, I thought those were the real positives that stood out in the game. I thought a couple other things, JT, Jonathan Thomas has been a guy who's been an unbelievable teammate here for 5 years. To see him be able to get an opportunity to step in there and make a huge play for us was awesome. So he's breaking the team down in the locker room right now. I thought our next man up mentality was really good because in my 5 years since I've been here, we haven't had that many guys knocked out of a game, whether it was ankles or hamstrings or whatever it may be. So to see a bunch of young guys get in the game and make some plays was good. So it's a win. It's something to build on. We're excited about that. We'll take this win, go back in, watch the film, make corrections, and grow and get better.
James, a few days ago you said that your team had made progress up until the Michigan State game. Do you feel like your team made progress today?
Yeah, it's obviously hard to sit here and say that right now, when we battle. I will tell you this, the last 2 times we've been here, they've been battles, so it's hard to describe that any differently. When the last 2 times I think we came here, we were losing at the half, and we're able to storm back in the second half and swing momentum and swing the game. But no, just watching the game, I felt like, each week we had gotten better. Last week I didn't feel like we did that. This week it's hard to say based on how the game played out, but I'd like to watch the film first before giving you that answer. But again, I think, you look at how these people have played a lot of people at home. You look at what's happened the last 2 times we've got here in seasons that we've had really good years. I'd probably hold my answer until I've watched the tape.
James, you had 12 minutes or 4 minutes to go, 4.5 to go. You got a 12-point lead.
Yep.
You get the ball back. You've stopped them. They look pretty discouraged at that point. You threw the ball twice.
Yep.
Why?
At the end of the day, it's about getting first downs. A few weeks before 4-minute offense, we run the ball multiple times, don't get a first down, take a little bit of time off the clock. So we wanted to be aggressive right there. We've gone back and forth with it and what we need to do. It comes down to getting first downs. Obviously, this situation didn't work either. The time before we ran the ball, weren't able to eat time off the clock, weren't able to get first downs. This time we didn't do a good job of it.
But that's Ohio State and Michigan State, and this is Indiana. But with all due respect to Indiana, and it's really windy.
I've already answered your question.
Well,
if you want me to give a different answer
okay,
because you didn't like it, but I've already answered your question.
James, you got a couple big returns on your special teams, but also seemed like you sprung a lot of leaks there today. How would you characterize your special teams today?
Yeah, I thought obviously we made some big plays. Their punt returner, I think has got 3 career touchdowns. We were able to keep him kind of out of the game and also created a turnover as well as a huge kickoff return. I think a 94-yard kickoff return. So did some nice things, but obviously there's some things that we need to get cleaned up. We're not punting the ball very well right now. That was something we coming into the season we felt like was going to be a real strength for us and has not been up to this point. Field position is something, we thought was going to be a real strength for us right now, and we haven't been able to create that.
Can you put your finger on why that's been an issue with Blake? And today, obviously, the wind was maybe the...
No, not at this point. Obviously, we have a lot of confidence in him, and he's had a great career. He's in a little bit of a slump right now. We just got to work him through it.
What does it say to you, James, when Etor leads the team with 10 tackles and then You also saw Shaka getting in the backfield quite a bit there at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think obviously when you can get production out of your front four, that's really, really important. They were able to run the ball on us. We made some adjustments. And then obviously when we were able to get up by 2 scores and force them into a passing situation, then we were able to get some critical sacks.
James, entering the season, Trace hadn't rushed for 90 yards in a single game. He's now done that 3 of the past 4 games. Why has that evolved offensively, and how important is that, and where do you think that's coming from?
I think the biggest thing that I see in our offense right now is when we catch the ball, we're in rhythm, and we make plays and we move the ball down the field, pretty much on anybody. When we're inconsistent catching the ball, we have a hard time getting into a rhythm and moving the ball consistently. You looked at the situation today, we hit Jawan on a shallow cross, we catch it, and he's able to spring a big play for us, break 1 tackle and go. So we just got to be more consistent in terms of the passing game. Trace has always made big plays with his legs, really since he's been here. Obviously, he's shouldering a little bit more of the load right now. And that's obviously, what you like to do with senior players and guys that have won as many games as he has.
James, you've talked a lot about going 1-0 every week, but given the two losses in a row, how much did just getting a win, regardless of how this game played out, just getting a win and maybe turning things around a little bit, how much did that make?
Yeah, again, I think your point is how we approach it. We want to go 1-0. We've been in this situation before where we've lost a couple games, and we've battled and we've grown. It hasn't always been pretty. I mean, you guys know there was one year where we seemed to be losing every single game at half, and played really well in the second half and battled back and found ways to get wins. At the end of the day, that's what you got to do. I mean, obviously we all want it to be pretty. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to get wins, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. It could be with defense, it could be with offense, it could be with special teams. It can be a combination of those things. It can be with turnovers. You can win games where you give up a bunch of yards, but you create a bunch of turnovers and win that way. You could win days where you create a bunch of explosive plays, but you're not very efficient. At the end of the day, we want to win, and it's not always going to be probably the textbook example.
James, why did you call timeout before the kickoff when it was 33-20?
Because we weren't aligned. We weren't aligned correctly. We thought we had a weakness, and they have shown that they'll kick multiple different onside kicks. You're talking about an onside kick situation?
Yeah, when it was 33-20.
Yeah, obviously an onside, we wanted to make sure we were aligned correctly. We felt like we had a spot that they could attack. So obviously you call the timeout and right before the kick, and then you recover it. Obviously you wish you didn't, and then you make the correction to make the adjustment, and then you don't get the second one. So after the fact, obviously not a great situation, but we weren't aligned exactly the way we wanted to align before the kick.
James, at one point in the fourth quarter, I think it was, you had Brandon Polk, John Dodson, and Cam Sullivan Brown at receiver. What was that a function of?
We had some guys go out of the game. We had some guys go out of the game with injuries. Yes, sir.
Coach, what was that moment like with Tommy throwing touchdown passes from stage?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, we want to get Tommy involved in our game plan. He had some situations with injuries earlier in the season that we weren't able to do that. We've tried to work him back in. So we've had some stuff like that in the game plan each week that he's been available. So obviously for him, I think he had 65 tickets for the game, had a bunch of family members here, him and Mac Hippenhammer. So it's great to see both of those guys get an opportunity to play and play pretty well.
James, a lot of Chaz Wright tonight. What went into that? More so than well.
Yeah, we had planned in this game being able to work Chaz in. He's a guy who's played for us at a high level. Felt like based on the way he's been practicing, he deserved to get some series in the game, and then basically see how he was playing from there.
James, second time in 3 weeks you've had a player ejected for targeting. What's your take on how that rule has been applied, and also Garrett Taylor is going to be out against Iowa first half. What do you see from Jonathan Sullivan?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different types of targeting. There's the targeting of the defenseless player, and then there's the targeting of the ball carrier. And ball carriers, the way I understand the rule, they don't fall under the category as protected players. Where you're able to get that call is if you turn your head down and you hit with the top of your helmet. So that's what happened in that situation. You know, I think when coaches watch that tape, that's a hard one. You know, the runner drops his pads really low. The defender's always trying to get his pads down to do the same thing. And you have to make that tackle with your head up. But the problem is there comes a point where, I mean, physically, try to do it. Anybody here, try to do it. Try to get that low and take on a runner and keep your head up. It's almost physically impossible to do. So, you know, for me, obviously, we don't want to ever see anybody take that type of shot, ever. But to me, there's a big difference between a launch and targeting on a defenseless player and a targeting of a ball carrier who drops his pads, who drops his helmet, and you're trying to do the same thing to make the tackle, if that makes sense.
And with Sullivan,
Time for two more.
you talked about him this week at practice, but he
Yeah, obviously, he's a guy that's flashed some really good things, and we need that to grow. You know, we need that to grow with John. Obviously, he's going to have an opportunity to get a bunch of reps in practice and start the game. But he's a guy whose confidence and whose reps has been growing anyway.
James, with his 5 drops today, I think it's 22 now for the season. It's the 7th game of the season. Are you considering changing anybody there among the receivers?
Yeah, obviously, we do that each week, you know, and then at the end of the week, based on practice and things like that, then we decide what's the best rotation, gives us the best chance to win. So, you know, obviously, we'll discuss that again this week after watching the tape. But it's nice to see some of those other guys go in and do a pretty good job for us. So, obviously, you know, that experience matters and that experience counts. So, you know, we go into weeks where we say it's going to be a 3-to-1 rotation with maybe a starter who's kind of established himself, and then other guys it's 2-to-1, and other guys it's 1-to-1. And based on how some of the guys went into the game today and did, I think they've shown that they deserve some more opportunities. So, you know, we'll look at that and you know, obviously maybe the rotation will change a little bit, but we'll see. It's all going to be based on, you know, the film, and it's all going to be based on how practice goes this week.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.